Good evening. I'm 14 First Alert meteorologist Arden Gregory here with your 9 o'clock weather show. This is a live look at the view from the 14 News studio tower camera. A little bit of a foggy look to it out there. We did have some rain earlier, so as that rain is evaporating, we do have a little bit of very patchy fog out there right now. Moving forward into the weekend, though, mostly sunny skies on tap. Tomorrow is going to be warm and sunny. Saturday, we have a weak cold front moving through, so that may bring us a very isolated chance of rain. But then behind that, we do see a slight dip in the temperatures and the humidity for Sunday. Now, before we move forward with the forecast anymore, I do want to take a look back at the storms we were tracking last night. So those storms started to pop up over Missouri around 8 p.m. and then they very slowly kind of drifted to the east as we went through the overnight hours. I had said yesterday that I thought the worst of the storms would be to our southwest down around Paducah, and that is certainly how things played out. We did have some heavy rain and thunderstorms, especially across western Kentucky last night, but we didn't have any severe weather or damage here at home. To our southwest, a very different story. All of these are reports of wind damage, and you can see there was a lot of those. This could be, trees down, uprooted, snapped, power poles snapped, roof damage, siding damage. So there was lots of different wind damage out there. Then also notice this right here. Those are a couple of reports of tornadoes, and they actually did have a confirmed tornado there. So this little green spot here right around Cunningham, Kentucky. So this is just to the kind of southwest of Paducah there. They did have an EF1 tornado last night with 100-mile-an-hour winds. It was on the ground for about 1.5 miles, and at its widest point was about 75 yards wide. You'll notice it is within this big black blob here. That is another damage path. But not from a tornado. That's from a macro burst. So I'm actually pretty impressed that the National Weather Service was even able to decipher tornado damage amongst all of that wind damage. But you can almost tell, so the storm was moving this way and it started producing damaging winds, and that kind of fanned out as it pushed to the southwest and kind of through this whole swath here. They had widespread straight line winds of 80 to 105 miles an hour. Now keep in mind that tornado had maximum winds of 100 miles an hour. It's very possible the strongest winds that happened during that storm yesterday were not even within the tornado. That's how intense the straight line winds were as that macro burst was moving through. They have a lot of damage down that way. We had more on that on 14 News at 6 earlier this evening, but certainly lots of damage there. At last I'd heard, though, no one was hurt, so that is some good news. And they have clear skies there tonight, just like we do here at home. We have nice clear skies over the entire tri-state. It's not been that way all day, though. Those storms that moved through overnight still had some additional rain wrapping around behind them into early this morning. Most of the day was then dry before additional showers and storms started to pop up this afternoon. It was kind of a broken line of showers and storms that very slowly drifted to the southeast, and these were kind of pulsy thunderstorms, so they would kind of bubble up and then crash back down, and then another one would pop up, and then that one would rain itself out. And they just kind of did that kind of right along the Ohio River for a few hours there, but then they lost their energy as the sun set. So we do have clear skies out there now. And aside from a little patchy fog, it's going to stay clear through the rest of the night. And we have lots of sunshine in the forecast all day tomorrow. Overnight Friday night into early Saturday morning, it is possible we could get a stray shower mainly north of I-64, but I think most of us will stay dry. I do want to point out the wind arrows on Saturday. Notice at the beginning of the day, our winds are coming from the southwest, pulling warmer, more humid air into the tri-state. But as the day goes on, that wind direction begins to shift, and you'll notice this band of clouds pushing through. So we will have some passing clouds on Saturday. It won't be completely sunny, but those clouds will be along a very weak cold front pushing through our region. So as that pushes through, our wind direction will change. It may also kick up a few very spotty showers. I think most of that will be just outside of the tri-state, but I certainly would not rule out a stray shower somewhere in the tri-state, especially on the southern end. But in general, Saturday looks mostly dry. And then as we get into Saturday night, any clouds or rain chances clear out, and that drier, less humid, cooler air will all filter in from the northwest then as we go through Saturday night and into Sunday. And Sunday looks really comfortable, although the whole weekend really looks pretty good. Our temperatures made it into the 80s earlier today. We had a real range of temperatures this afternoon because we had that rain moving through. So we had some spots where the sun was out and it was in the upper 80s, and we had other spots where it was raining and it was only in the 70s, and then everyone else falling somewhere in between. But now that the skies are clear and the sun has set, everybody's kind of evening back out, primarily sitting somewhere in the mid 70s right now. As we go through the rest of the night, those temperatures will continue to drop and will eventually bottom out somewhere in the mid to upper 60s under mostly clear skies. Again, some patchy fog is possible overnight tonight, especially late tonight into early tomorrow morning. But once the sun rises on Friday, that fog should burn away very quickly. And then in general, tomorrow will be mostly sunny and warm with highs in the mid to upper 80s. We'll be in the upper 80s on Saturday. Saturday is kind of the, just right on par with the average here. Just the quintessential late August day there. When you picture, kind of one of the final Saturdays in August, that should be exactly what you picture is what we've got coming on Saturday. We do have that very weak cold front moving through. Drops our temperatures ever so slightly, but it will be a little cooler and a little less humid too, so it should be a really comfortable warmth Sunday and Monday. Then notice we start to heat back up a bit as our wind direction changes and starts to come back in from the south Tuesday into Wednesday. A weak weather system will move through on Wednesday. Does bring us a chance of a few showers and storms, but it doesn't look like that rain's going to be widespread. And as of right now, I'm not anticipating severe weather, but Wednesday is a day that we're certainly keeping a close eye on, as it does seem like our next best chance of seeing some rain in the tri-state. For those of you who are curious about beyond just the next 7 days, the extended outlook from Saturday, this would be Friday. Got to get my days of the week straight here. Friday, August 28th, up through the end of the following week. So this would be the week kind of leading up to Labor Day weekend, if I've got my calendar right in my head here. And so there's no real clear indication of a much wetter or much drier than average weather pattern setting up there. So that means we probably have some rain chances at some point that week, but it's not a particularly wet weather pattern. At the same time, it would not be abnormally dry where we would be concerned about a drought settling back in or things like that. Looking at the temperature outlook, though, we do see an indication that our temperatures, just kind of in general, would trend near to slightly above average. And our average highs for this time of year would be into the upper 80s. So we're probably looking at upper 80s to maybe low 90s as we get toward the end of this month and into the start of September. It does seem like any kind of hazardous heat, though, will probably stay to our southwest. They are looking at a stretch of very hot, very dry weather to the southwest. That orange shade you see there are areas that are at risk of rapid onset drought. So they're afraid things are going to get very hot, get very dry. Everything will basically shrivel up and you'll end up in a drought very, very quickly. Whereas drought is oftentimes a kind of slow build, right? But sometimes it can get very hot, very dry, very fast, and everything just kind of shrivels up and you end up in this rapid onset drought. So there is some concern about that down to the southwest. And notice, especially as you get into Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, you get into that dark red there where they're looking at possibly a pretty intense heat wave during this time period. So I will be keeping a close eye on that because just how the weather moves, our weather typically moves from west to east, right, due to the jet stream. So sometimes when they end up with a heat wave down there, it eventually spreads our way. As of right now, that is not in the forecast, but notice this only goes up through September 3rd. So I would monitor for that as we get into Labor Day weekend and that kind of first full week of September there. Depending on how this plays out, we could maybe see another surge of heat pushing into the tri-state, but that's a long way off. I'm not confident in that. I'm just kind of speculating here, giving you kind of an inside look as to what I'm thinking as we look at the extended outlook. But the farther out you get, the less certain things become. So all of that is just kind of an educated guess at this point. So this weekend, again, pretty nice weather. Don't be shocked if you run into a stray shower, but I think we'll probably stay dry. Kind of the same story there for Monday and Tuesday as well. Wednesday's really the next day I think most of us have any kind of shot of really getting any rain legitimately. And that could come with scattered showers and maybe even a few thunderstorms, but as of right now, I don't see any kind of major severe weather threat. I am going to check in on the comments here and see if anybody has any questions as we go along. All right. Good evening, Jeanette, Cheyenne, and Ricky. William says that his rain gauge has a little more than 1.5 inches of rain in it, but that he doesn't believe it. I don't know if he thinks they got more or less than that. Misty says they got some thunderstorms earlier in Mount Vernon. Yeah, those storms were real spotty. Some of you have stayed dry all day today. Others may have seen rain 3 or 4 times through the course of the day. It really just depended on your exact location. Good evening, Janetta in Newburgh. William says he thinks that might be a 7-day total. He doesn't believe that you got that much rain. It did rain pretty good earlier today. We had some, heavy downpours. I was watching the sky cams here, and when that cell moved over the west side of Evansville out at USI, you couldn't even see the highway. It was raining so hard there. So there were just these little bitty pockets of very heavy rain today. And Michael says they got 1.35 inches of rain in Madisonville last night. Yeah, for those storms that moved through overnight last night, the heaviest rain was certainly in western Kentucky. And then the real heavy stuff all stayed to our southwest, down closer to Paducah. There were some reports of, 2, 3, 4 inches of rain down that way as they had those strong to even severe storms move through. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions in the comments, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I am going to give you one more look at the 7-day though, just in case anybody missed it. Really nice weather all weekend tomorrow. We may start out with a little fog first thing tomorrow morning, so don't be surprised by that. If you wake up and it's a little foggy out there, you may have to give yourself just a little extra time to get to school and work tomorrow morning, depending on how thick that fog gets. But once the sun gets up, that fog should burn away very quickly. We'll top out in the mid to upper 80s tomorrow afternoon with plenty of sunshine. Just a few passing clouds and maybe a stray shower on Saturday as that weak cold front moves through, but most of us will stay dry. You may notice the wind pick up a little bit as that front moves through, though Saturday may have a bit of a breeze, although with highs in the upper 80s, that'll probably feel good. Then as that cold front moves out, slightly cooler and drier air moves in. Highs will be in the low to mid 80s with lows in the lower 60s as we go through Sunday and Monday. But Monday, we also start to see a few more clouds, maybe a stray shower. Some of the models are hinting at some spotty rain Monday and Tuesday. Others are keeping it dry. So I just can't totally rule it out, but I think many of us probably will end up staying dry Monday and Tuesday. Then Wednesday is when that weather system moves through. Again, it doesn't look terribly impressive right now. I think it'll probably be just a few scattered showers and maybe a thunderstorm. I don't see a major severe weather threat from that, but I would say Wednesday is kind of the next day that we're really watching. And then beyond that, once that moves out, just kind of a typical late August weather there as we get toward the end of next week. Good evening, Justin from Newburgh. Seems to be the final comment. So with that, I'm going to get off of here and prepare for 14 News at 10. I'll have your weather forecast, and Allie will have your sports, and Robinson's in there working on your latest news headlines. So please join us for 14 News tonight at 10. And thank you so much for watching the 14 First Alert Weather Show here at 9, and have a good rest of your night.